Section 1. You will hear two people talking about buying food to prepare for a coronavirus lockdown.
So, are there any carrots left?
Carrots? There are 5 left.
And other vegetables?
Let me see. In the fridge right now, we have 5 carrots, 2 big bags of broccolis, 3 packs of rhubarbs, 4 actually, some mushrooms and green bell peppers, and also onions, 3 of them.
Okay, so we are gonna need potatoes, carrots, leeks, and tomatoes, 1 kilo each, and some nice salad.
Well, I know that the city lockdown starts tomorrow and will continue for at least 2 weeks, but it doesn't mean we need this much food. They're just the 2 of us. If we can't eat them all in time, they will just rot and we have to throw everything away.
Look, you don't know how to cook, but I do. I plan to use all these vegetables for a soup, a curry, and a stew. Once processed, they can last long.
Oh, I see. Anyway, that still seems too much to me. But never mind. What should I bring back for the salad?
A lettuce. And if possible, a melon and 2 trays of blueberries.
Okay, that's noted. Is that all?
No. Can you also go to the butcher's to get a chicken?
What kind?
A good size roast chicken. I prefer a free-range chicken. It's healthier.
Okay, is that all?
No. You're also going to buy some cheese.
What kind?
Since we have some pizza dough, I'd say you get some cheddar, parmesan, and mozzarella. And yes, you're going to get a goat cheese and a big piece of brie.
Okay. Do you need anything else?
No, that's all. Thank you.
There's no chicken at the butcher's. Can I get you something else?
First of all, this is not for me. It's us. Well, if you could try the butcher's on the Pine Street, that would be fantastic. If they don't really have it, just grab any meat you can find.
Sure. It will take a while till I get back because the traffic is literally paralyzed.
Yeah, it's understandable. Everyone should be prepared. We never know when the lockdown will be lifted.
Well, I can't say I agree with you. Because of people like you, I have to get stuck in traffic like this. And because people panic buy, products are out of stock. It's just 2 weeks, come on. If you're so scared, why don't you just grow your own kitchen garden? I'll reach home in 10 minutes.
Wow, that's a lot of stuff. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I can't get everything you want though.
It's not me, it's us. Hey, where is the lettuce?
It's in there.
No, there is a cabbage, but no lettuce.
Isn't that a lettuce?
No. Don't you know the difference between a cabbage and a lettuce? We don't put cabbage in a salad. And where's the brie?
Oh, give me a break. I told you I couldn't get everything, and I did forget something, but everyone can make mistakes.
Are you doing this on purpose or what?
Haha, you're so funny. You know what? I can last for at least 2 months with some instant noodles, sausages, and dry seaweeds. But I braved the traffic and carried tons of produce for you. If you're not happy, go shopping yourself.
You know I can't drive.
Well, you should be more grateful then. And don't forget to pay your share.
Section 2. You will hear two people discussing gender parity in politics.
Did you know that Finland has just elected a new prime minister, and it's a woman? She's also the youngest female prime minister of the world.
Yes, I've heard of that. Only 34 years old, right?
Exactly. It's so good to know that women are more represented in the parliament. It's such a big stride, but there are still more men than women in governments around the world, unfortunately.
And that surprises you? I do not see where the problem is.
But we've been talking about this for years, in the news and all those international meetings, and we haven't been able to reach gender parity.
Or it could be that parity is just not a realistic goal.
How is it not realistic? You can just give the same quota to men and women in the government and that's it.
Yes, but if there are not enough competent women, why should we accept to have incompetent politicians on the grounds that they are women?
Wow, are you kidding? Think before you speak.
I did, but frankly, if women were able to govern better than men, there would simply be more women in power. But the reality is the opposite. Globally, only 11 women are heads of state and 12 are heads of government out of almost 200 countries in the world.
Oh, are you serious? This is absurd. Able to govern, huh? Are you trying to imply that men are genetically more able to govern, perhaps?
It's natural. Men are physically stronger, emotionally more stable, better at making decisions, and more rational. So they are naturally more suitable to be in the position of authority. That's it.
But they are intellectually weaker.
Ah, yes? And how do you explain when there are almost only men who have won the Nobel Prize so far? And famous scientists are exclusively male. It's because they're dumber, right?
You are missing the point, and don't stray out of topic. What I try to point out is that little girls have been shown to perform better in school than boys. And yes, women also win Nobel Prizes and females also make wonderful scientists. Chemist Marie Curie won the Nobel Prize. And what about Katherine Johnson, a NASA mathematician who calculated the trajectory of Apollo 11 to the moon and back? And female leaders are not unprecedented. Empress Wu Zhejian, ruler Cleopatra, Queen Elizabeth, Queen Victoria, just to name a few. Even today, a higher proportion of females in the parliament is possible. In Rwanda, 61.3% of the MPs are women, and that's the highest number of female parliamentarians worldwide.
Yes.
Women are discouraging from pursuing certain fields of studies, and also from pursuing certain careers. I mean, how could you say that women are incompetent when we are never given the opportunities we deserve?
So, you're telling me that we risk losing competent women if they are oriented towards formations that do not lead to power?
It's a question of representativeness and redistribution of power. How could girls identify with power if it is still jealousy guarded by men? Having women in parliament can bring about changes because we see things from different perspectives. We push for childcare policy, parental leave for both mothers and fathers, environmental protection, and inclusivity. I believe there would be fewer wars if women could have more say in world politics. Well, let's stop talking about this subject.
Section 3. You will hear a medical professor and 2 medical students talking about COVID-19.
As you may know, the world is now struck by the greatest healthcare crisis of the century.
The coronavirus.
Yes, but coronavirus is just a name assigned to a family of virus. Coronavirus is the family of virus that caused the severe acute respiratory syndrome or SARS in 2003 and the Middle East respiratory syndrome or MERS in 2012. So to be precise, the pandemic that we're facing at the moment, it is called
COVID-19 stands for Coronavirus Disease 2019.
That's right. Anyone can tell the class about the disease, where and when it happened, and what the symptoms are like?
It's a kind of pneumonia of mysterious cause first detected in a city in China just around the end of 2019. It was winter at the time, and pneumonia was very common. I believed that many of the cases were missed during the first period of the outbreak because the symptoms are similar to those of ordinary pneumonia: fever, cough, chest pain, and panting.
The most vulnerable group consists of the elderly and those with underlying conditions. Some people, especially the young, can also be infected and spread the virus without showing any symptoms. I've heard that the virus has mutated also, making it more complicated to track the spread.
Good. Seems like you keep yourself updated well with the healthcare situation. That's an essential quality of medical students. The topic that we're going to discuss today is of course related to this pandemic. As you might already know, the transmission of COVID-19 is so rapid and the numbers of patients in many countries are surging to the point that healthcare workers have no choice but to prioritize their patients. Do you know what patient prioritization means?
It means that medical workers are forced to treat patients who are more likely to recover and leave those who are much weaker behind. With the large influx of patients, many hospitals are saturated. There are not enough personnel, beds, and equipment.
I believe that the situation like this happens all the time in healthcare facilities, doesn't it?
Not always, but it does happen, and you'll be trained to make the best decision when facing this situation.
What criteria is the decision based on?
That is a good question. It depends in particular on patients' previous condition and their current clinical conditions. The treatment must be useful to patients in that it brings them a real benefit. It does not make much sense to provide certain patients with care if we know that their conditions are too severe.
Theoretically understandable, but I believe that life is much more than just simple rules. Who should we help between, for example, patient A, who seems to be beyond hope but has 5 children and old parents to look after, and patient B, who is a teenager?
The likelihood to survive is clearly not enough here. The impact on the family and society, the pain and suffering of those whom the patient leaves behind must be taken into account.
Yes, definitely. There are many ways to justify our choices. There's an interesting research on patient prioritization. The research asked medical workers to choose between 2 patients in different scenarios. The first scenario involved an 8-year-old child and a 70-year-old elderly individual, both victims of a road accident. 90% of the respondents chose to save the child. Since the child has more years to be lived and can contribute more to society, he should be saved. But being an elderly person, the other patient has already enjoyed life. So you can see, in this case, their decision was based on the criterion of years to live and social utility. It could be based on the minimization of pain and suffering. Losing a child is like living in hell for parents and family. Some respondents even resorted to the deontological reasoning, simply because it was a child and we must save him. As you can see, there are numerous ways to justify our choices. In these cases, only age is factored in, but there are still gender, responsibility, and other dimensions of patients to be considered. These will be discussed in the next class.
Section 4. You will hear a professor giving a lecture on abortion.
The right of abortion is a topic of global discussion and a great battle for women in many parts of the world. In some countries, this right is completely withheld from women, while in other places, women can have an abortion on the grounds of saving their lives, preserving their health, social or economic factors, or even on request. Let's take a look at the situations of abortion right in China, Northern Ireland, and India. In 1979, the Chinese government implemented one-child policy to curb the country's population growth. The government encouraged married couples to have only one child by providing the child with free education, health care, and financial support. Families that did not follow the policy would not be entitled to those privileges and had to pay more tax. Chinese women who wished to have an abortion or birth control pills could have them for free and legally. The policy served its purpose in slowing down the rate of population growth. If not for this measure, there would be 30 billion in China today instead of 1.4 billion. Even though the policy was lifted in 2016, it left an unfortunate repercussion to the Chinese society. Since only boys could carry the family name, female babies were abandoned or killed by their families. 90% of aborted babies were female. Despite all that, the right of abortion is guaranteed to all Chinese women as a government service available on request. Now, look at the United Kingdom. Abortion up to the 24th week of pregnancy is allowed by law in England, Scotland, and Wales, but not in Northern Ireland, although it's a part of the Great Britain. Only if giving birth may lead to a fatal consequence on the mother's health can she request for a legal abortion, but not if she is raped or the fetus shows signs of abnormalities. Therefore, a solution for Northern Irish women who wish to abort their babies is to travel to other parts of the UK or to countries that allow it. But this option is open for those who can afford the travel cost. Even if they can make it to other parts of the UK, Northern Irish women still have to pay for the entire procedure, including abortion pills that cost over £3,000, because they are not covered by the Universal Healthcare Service, despite their British citizenship. Those who try or help women get an abortion will also face charges in Northern Ireland. Those who attempt abortion might face suspended sentences and imprisonment. Recently, there has been a pro-choice movement around the UK to demand equal rights and protection for all British women, regardless of where they are. Lawmakers, however, are reluctant to change the law. This is partly because of religious and conservative influence in Northern Ireland that keeps the region from acting in favor of women's rights. Last but not least, in India, abortion is allowed for pregnancies under 12 weeks old. Unfortunately, cultural reasons put India in the same situation that happened in China. According to the demographic records, over 8 million female fetuses have been killed over the past decade. In India, the bride has to give a sum of money called dowries to her husband's family, and yet only men can preserve the family's name. While the right to receive an abortion service is another step in a long journey to secure women's rights, we must not forget that there are girls and female fetuses that need to be protected. And the crux of the problem is perhaps the cultures and values that subject females to the status of an inferior sex instead of placing both genders on the same level.